Hi, I'm AJ. Online, I'm CompilingEntropy, and I do not have a Mac, so thank you, Cool Star, for all of your awesome work on that. Lately, I've been playing around with Fuzzing Mobile Safari, and some of you are thinking, well, that's useless, and you're halfway right, but but it's what it is a great it's a great opportunity for learning, for getting your foot in the door, for vulnerability research. There have been a lot of good vulnerabilities, like Saffron was discovered by Comex by fuzzing PDFs. That's how we found the vulnerability in the true type fonts. And I know that I think POSIX Ninja and those guys did some DFU fuzzing back in the day. So so it's got a good basis in iOS. But what is it? Fuzzing is basically it's a strategy that researchers will use on more than just iOS. They'll use it on lots of different things. Some common applications of fuzzing are network protocols, such as TCP/IP, that kind of thing, or anything that handles a file, anything that parses a file, like so any image viewer or anything like that. People fuzz those kind of things all the time. And the idea behind fuzzing is that a complex program like an image viewer or a network protocol can't possibly expect every single thing that it's given. It can't handle every single error. And so the idea is to then find something that it doesn't know what to do with. In a situation where it doesn't know what to do with it, oftentimes the target will crash, giving you some useful information, or sometimes they'll leak memory and that kind of thing. But if you're lucky, you can find something that is possibly a vulnerability. The way that you fuzz is by generating this pseudo-random data. So sometimes you'll take an existing file that's just fine, and then you'll mess with it, and then you'll try to load it with your viewer, or sometimes you'll just give it random stuff and see if it knows what to do. In this case, I'm using Mobile Safari because it's a big attack surface and it's in userland, so it's easy to get to. Yeah, why do we fuzz? We fuzz to find bugs, learn about reverse engineering after you find them, like Hafish talked about earlier. And then it's a good opportunity to practice vulnerability analysis by getting your hands dirty. It's less, I find that I can learn more from actually trying stuff than from reading, really wordy CVEs and stuff like that. So it's a good way to learn about that kind of stuff. So the first thing you're going to do is to fuzz Mobile Safari is to take a good file, such as an image like a JPEG or whatever, and you're going to modify a really small part of it. So you can see that I've opened it in a hex editor, and I've just changed 1 bit from 6 to a 7, right? And so the file is mostly intact. Everything is the same except for this one little tiny thing. And then what you do with that is you save the modified version to a file, and you open it in Mobile Safari. Some good tools exist already to modify parts of files. There is a Python-based fuzzer. The source code for it is in Chapter 6 of the iOS Hacker's Handbook by Charlie Miller and Stefan Esser. There's also somebody who's gone to the work of porting Zuff to iOS. It might have been Comex. I don't actually know for sure. But those are available. Those are good tools to use because then you don't have to use hex editors all the time, and you're going to be changing hundreds and hundreds of small bits of files. Because changing one bit is not very likely to cause anything good. So you're going to have more results if you change hundreds of things at a time. And then you're going to open this file which has been corrupted by a certain percent with Mobile Safari, and you're going to watch, see what happens. Sometimes it'll send you an error, this operation is not permitted, or whatever. There are a bunch of errors that it can give you. Sometimes it will load the file just fine, you won't notice a difference. And if you're really, really lucky, then you'll get a crash or the application will hang. And that's the desire, that's what you're going for. And then you're just gonna keep trying, because the first time you're not gonna get anything. You're just gonna try hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands of times. There are a few tools that exist to automatically take an image and just repetitively modify different parts of the file. Modify 100 ones and then 100 different ones and then 100 different ones after that, and in different ways every time. And if you do this enough, over and over and over, then you might get results. Some of the tools that exist are, I wrote one called Fuzzy Cactus. I say 56K out here. Wrote another one called Fuzzy Duck, and there's just a bunch of them. It's nothing special. You just it's just a wrapper of Zuff or the Python fuzzers, but it's automated, so you can start it and then you can come back the next day and say, oh look, I got 2 crashes overnight, and then you can play with them. And so if you do find a crash, it might take a day or a few days of fuzzing to get one, but if you find one, then you've got this original file and the crashed file, and you've got maybe 2,000 differences between them. And maybe one or maybe one of those actually caused the crash, or maybe it was 2 of them working in combination with each other, or maybe it was 3 of them working in combination with each other. And so finding out which bits that you flipped actually matter it's really difficult. You can try them all one at a time, but if it's 2 working together to cause a crash, you're still not going to find it, and you're going to have spent weeks doing it. So I came up with this cool tool that will just find it for you, and it will take less than 10 minutes on anything that you have. Because basically what it does is it does an expanded binary search, which it's just if you want to know more about how it works, you can look on my GitHub. But it's going to search through the differences, generate some files that have some differences but not all of them, and then see if it crashes, and then based on whether or not it does, you're going to be able to narrow it down, and eventually you're going to be able to find, okay, it only takes these 3 bits specifically working together in combination with each other to cause this crash. But then once you know which bits cause the crash, you're going to have to reverse engineer the file itself. You're going to say, where are those bits? Are they in the headers? Are they in like the structures of the image, or what part of the file is causing the crash? And a good way to find out is to read crash logs as well. The crash logs will tell you they'll tell you which actual thing crashed, because Mobile Safari itself is usually not going to crash. Usually it's going to be the image handler that will crash or whatever. That bit I showed you earlier happens to be part of something that crashes Video Toolbox. So that's something inside of Media Server D, which is a library that handles media files. So the crash logs will tell you where to reverse engineer on the device, and then you reverse engineer the file and find out what the device is doing, or what the file has in it that the device's libraries can't handle. This has been made a lot easier than I'm making it sound, because a guy named Salo, he came up with this thing called iCrashAlyzer that will read crash logs for you, because nobody can read those things, and it will tell you what libraries caused it, what the offsets were. It's really informative, and that's open source as well. So then you're going to examine, I call them the magic bytes, the select few that actually matter, and you're going to reverse engineer. I'm not very good at reverse engineering myself. You can talk to Half-Itch about that, or Sam D. Marshall has a really great website that has tons of awesome reverse engineering resources on it. I recommend that you write down that URL right there and look into his website, because it's got some really good resources on reverse engineering in general, and iOS and Mac OS X related reverse engineering. And then as you're fuzzing, what should you expect? When I first went into this, I didn't have high hopes. I wasn't expecting to be the next Comex or anything, but I thought, maybe I would find a few crashes and it would be cool. But in reality, less than 1% of your files, probably less than 1/10% of your files are going to crash. And then of those, less than 1% will be exploitable, and so it's really difficult to actually find things that are useful. So really, if you do this, you're gonna learn a lot though. So that's the good thing is I've learned a ton by doing this, and I recommend that anybody who's trying to get their foot in the door, like doesn't really know where to start, maybe wants to start start getting into the jailbreak development part of the scene. This is a good place. Well, I don't know if it's the best place to start, but it is a place to start. And I know that you can learn a lot by trying it out. So some places to go if you're getting stuck, if you have problems setting things up. The Open Jailbreak channel on Freenode is a good place to start. There's a lot of smart people there, and also I'm sometimes there. And then you can get some help with people setting things up and stuff. And then the tools that I've talked about mostly are